So we have three of us have watched the new Castlevania season. I actually just finished today.
I did too.
Oh, cool! And Tyler finished earlier this week.
Hmm.
Um, what did y'all think? Castlevania season 3, the Netflix show. For
Yes.
clarification.
So Castlevania falls into the category of shows that I was doing my laundry. I put this on because I thought it was going to be bad, and by the end of episode one, I've forgotten about the laundry.
Oh no! But was the laundry done?
That the laundry got eventually done, but it got
Oh,
to the point where I was like, I gotta finish this laundry so I can watch the rest of the season. Like, holy shit!
ooh!
The first episode of Castlevania is one of my favorite episodes of all of television. It's
Wow!
so good. I
God damn!
love it. Um, so season two came out, and I was kind of like, "Oh, this is good. I enjoy it. It's just more Castlevania." Season three came out, and I really, really, really liked it a
Season
lot.
2 is still my favorite, I think. So I'm surprised you
Really,
were less up on it.
I just the I don't know. I don't think I didn't really the chemistry between the three characters didn't really click with me that much. They introduced a lot more characters, and I really felt like it overbloated the show at that point. But then we're in season three right now. I think we have a good cast of like mainstay characters that we can follow.
I have a compliment sandwich for Castlevania.
Yeah,
Maybe it's not even a sandwich. Maybe it's just a bread and a patty. So it's more like a gyro or something.
yeah.
Um, but Tyler, you really like this season. What did you like so much about it? Let's start
So
with you.
I, man, Castlevania has always had this. Let's like in video games. I played them for the first time back in like 2006 on the DS, and it's always been this weird genre that kind of has been in limbo, where there's an entire genre called Metroidvania,
Yeah.
and like by the time that genre really started to kick off with that keyword, Castlevania kind of fell out of existence.
Yeah, that like when that keyword was really popping off, we were getting games like Lord of Shadows, I think, which are the 3D ones, which are
Yeah,
action games, not Metroidvania games.
Hmm.
Um,
and
but yeah,
like Hollow Knight came out, and it's like, oh, these are Metroidvanias, but Castlevania wasn't making games anymore. I think they haven't had a game in
neither was
6 years.
Metroid. Like Metroid
Yeah.
and Castlevania have been dead, homie. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of weird when you think about it.
But wow, this is probably the best video game adaptation of anything ever,
Oh,
maybe.
sure. I think the best part about it is that it doesn't try to like take the actual storyline of Castlevania and force it into its setting. It's more or less just taking inspiration and like different aspects of it and putting it
This is
together.
my problem with Castlevania.
Yeah,
What you like is my problem.
really?
Uh, Castle. So, a loose adaptation would have been fine. Castlevania's never had too much plot, but they have lore that you can draw from. This
Mhm.
is not a Castlevania show. This is a fantasy show with a Castlevania coat of paint.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
They are touching on the lore, and they did that in this most recent season.
they will grab bits of lore for the ninth and 10th episode of each season.
Yeah,
Like they will be like, "Hey, here's this enemy," but the storyline, like, okay, there's something that we're gonna get into some spoilers here.
Like Alucard's lore.
No, everyone's lore. Alucard's been doing pretty. It has been done pretty well actually, and he has some of his moves, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love how he has this teleport dash where it's colorful.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Man, when he did that, I think it was in season. No, he did that in season 1 even.
Yeah,
He does it in every season.
Yeah, it's fucking rad. Um, uh, Alucard. Well, I mean, speaking of Alucard, he had the weakest storyline this season. But
did. We had the strongest ending. I feel like.
so the coolest. I did not like that ending for his storyline. The coolest thing about Castlevania as a series is that it's JoJo's. Like it's so good. Like not much fiction has the generational storytelling that JoJo's and Castlevania has. And that's like the coolest part. It's so key to the identity. Each game is a descendant in the Belmont family and then some branching trees. Now, keep in mind, I am no Castlevania master. Actually, my first Castlevania game I played and didn't watch was Rondo of Blood on the PS4 when it came out in like 2017. So
I remember you telling us about that. You were beating it.
yeah, and I also played Symphony, and I've watched a lot of lore videos and all this, which is like that's fine. I'm not writing the show, but I know enough, you know. The problem is, and the creator has gone on to say he hasn't played the games. He just grabs he's just writing his story and inserting Castlevania stuff into it. And it's a pretty good story, and the biggest strength of Castlevania as a show is the conversations. Like the dialogue between two characters is riveting. And there's a lot of that in this season, but then there's also like Isaac runs into stubborn people and is like, "Oh, humanity sucks. People don't want me to march into their town with my armies. I'm so right."
Like it's like you're not getting here with the army of monsters. Let me through. It's like no.
And then Isaac is like, "Why would you betray me? Like, why are you so rude?"
Yeah.
And Hector's just a fucking 0 IQ piece of shit. But the dialogue is really good, and the banter is always really good, and there's very good conversations. But like, my hopes for this show was that by season 3 or 4 we would have moved on to Simon, because that's how the lineage goes. You get Trevor and Sypha, then you get Simon, which would be really interesting because Simon doesn't have any supporting characters in the story of those games. So either you have a very interesting story about isolation and being lonely, or you make up some characters, which they've made great made up characters. Like the characters of Hector and Isaac are from games, but they're very loose adaptations of those characters.
Judge.
So was the Mad Monk? He was based off of the main antagonists from two different games.
Who? Which Mad Monk?
Mad Monk from the newest.
The Priory. The dude that like has these huge eyes.
Oh, puppy dog eyes? Yeah. So I was like, okay, hopefully by season 3 or 4 they're on Simon, and then Simon gets a season or 2, and then we can get to Richter. And everyone wants to get to Richter because that's Symphony of the Night, and you bring back Alucard, it's gonna be great. You get Maria, etc., etc. You go on, you get to the future, you get to the DS games with Soma and all that. Everyone would love it, but it's become very clear that they're not adhering to that aspect of the games. And that's really troublesome. But then also, like, the overall story, they've mixed so many of the games together, so it's, like, very clear that they're going its own path, which is cool but disappointing.
I think, but to me, it's just, like, if you want that story, you should just play the game.
No, because the games don't have as much storytelling prowess as the show. This is one time where the adaptation expanded on it instead of going like, this is the perfect thing to expand, not the perfect thing to just go on a different route. Like, it's not a Game of Thrones side series where you can just kind of do your own thing but you have this established world. I feel like they had a really good opportunity to expand on it. So with that being said, though, it's still a very good season, and the show is like it's just a good show. But like, one thing that highlights that is, so the what's his name? The guy who's the time traveler, Saint Germain.
Voiced by Billy Nye, which I thought was an interesting person to get for this show. I would not.
I don't know who's Billy Nye.
Bill Nye, the Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
He's in About Time. He's the father in About Time. He does a bunch of other kind of like more like almost romantic comedy, like lower like.
Anywho, he's Saint Germain. So that scene where he's time traveling and he's seeing shit, right? I'm like, oh, what is this a reference to? I'm not recognizing anything here. Like, there's futuristic stuff, and I know that there's an event in Castlevania called the War of 1999, which is this war that you never get to see in the games, but they reference it, and it's where Dracula dies for real. It's like where he dies. So I'm like, well, this looks really futuristic, so I don't know if it's alluding to that. So I go on Reddit, and I go to the episode discussion, and I see so many posts of like, man, that time traveling sequence in the infinite hallway was so cool. I wonder what they were referencing. And I saw so many posts like that. You know what I never saw? any goddamn answers. They weren't referencing anything. Like, that was just nonsense for future seasons.
But who cares?
That's why Reddit is actually bad sometimes. So, in the pyramid, they talk about there's some couple of websites, and I did this like research. I did the same thing, but I didn't go to Reddit. The point that he's looking for is actually the inverse castle, which is where the person is standing upside down on the library shelves.
Yeah,
right.
That's
In Symphony, when the castle's upside down.
Yeah. There's a scene where in the Infinite Corridor he looks to like a pyramid in the desert, and that's actually a reference to Portrait of Ruin, maybe, because there's an entire desert biome.
I saw people mention that on Reddit. So, but the thing is, the futuristic stuff.
He knows about toilet paper, man.
No, I meant like the goddamn spaceships. No one was able to pin down what that was all about. Some people are saying that like maybe this is a way for them to connect the Devil May Cry series that they're gonna make into this series so that they can make a multiverse.
That's dumb.
I think that deals with the mythology of Saint Germain actually as like mythological figure and theosophy.
Right, he's a historical figure, Saint Germain, and that's the thing. The guy who made this loves historical fiction. Like, all of these places that we're going to are historical places, and he loves Christianity and like theology and philosophy. And I feel like he was like, I can make a TV show about that and put the name Castlevania on it, and it's gonna sell. And it is, and it's a good TV show. But it hurts me when people say that this is the best video game adaptation, because it's hardly. It's just a good TV show with the name and some characters from the video game.
Here's my thing. In second season, because it is 3 seasons. The first season was only like four episodes or so.
Yeah, it was 4, then like 8 and 10.
They do something. Dracula's Castle.
Yeah, and you know what? That was hype because that was, like, I think the only time they played video game music. That's another thing. Why don't they ever play... Like, there's no love for the video games on this.
Castlevania has great soundtrack, but they did Dracula's Castle. And this one, so we don't know that it's going to follow Trevor and Sypha. I can see them being in the next season, yes. I can see it. Hopefully, if it's good, it won't be all about them.
I mean, I think it'll still be about the core, like the 5 to 7 main characters we have right now.
I would love for it to like do an episode or 2 on Trevor and Sypha in like flashback sense, but then let's move on to the next son.
But the next son would have to be an adult, so there wouldn't be a 20-year time skip at least with like what happened to Hector in 20. Like they left too many plot lines on a cliffhanger with Hector and Isaac specifically, so it's like we gotta follow up on those.
Hector and Isaac are the only 2 that I could see like are the 2 ones to really have to close out, because you can probably end Sypha and Trevor whenever you want.
Yeah, Alucard closed out. Trevor and Sypha closed out.
Yeah, it's Alucard stuck in his castle and isn't doing anything. He's immortal, so we don't have to worry about him. It's
actually Isaac's could end as well.
You can't. No, Isaac still has to get to Hector.
He doesn't have to. Like,
he can have a change of heart.
The way I could see it happen, if you do the 20-year time skip, Hector's dead, those vampires are dead, and they failed. Camilla and their entourage failed, and now Isaac rules over that city that he destroyed.
People would not like that, and I don't think I would either, because you spent so much of this season on these 4 vampire sisters, and then you didn't do anything with them the next season.
That are gonna have to do something with.
Yeah, no, dude. Here's the thing: if this show was to be like a 15-season epic, we could still get what I want. But it's not. Like, there's no way this show is gonna go past like
season 5,
7 to 8. Like that. Like we're going to be in this storyline, and it's a big bummer. We're never gonna get Richter. We're never gonna get anything past Richter at that point.
You know what would be the biggest slap in the face? So this season we introduced the concept of other vampire hunters. And in Portrait of Ruin, we get 2 characters that aren't related to the Belmonts.
Yeah, they just have like the whip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still vampire hunter. Like the whip is still
the vampire killer.
Yeah.
Why
but
is his whip called the Morning Star in this? It's the
I
fucking
don't know.
vampire killer. Why did they do that? Like,
I don't know.
there's so many
It's
little things.
Jonathan Morris and Charlotte Allen.
Yes, right.
But like we introduced the concept of other vampire hunters, and that's the DS game where like we stray away from the Belmont line and everything,
Mhm.
and you know,
Mhm.
the big slap in the face would be like if they introduce Richter and Simon is like, oh, these are my long lost relatives.
Oh man, if they just skip over Simon.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cruel.
So,
I-
have a
And
question.
they could because he's like he's the one where they have the least to work with. But I mean,
They
he's,
introduced the Infinite Corridor. Saint Germain could show up with Simon and Richter at any fucking
That's
point now.
true.
that's true.
That could be also how they go too. Is that it shifts? They do like a season where they shift like Saint Germain, and he's jumping through everything, and you see him do all that bullshit.
I hope
It
so,
is-
man.
Yeah,
Let
the
me
way-
ta-
I-
Let me
It-
talk
it's
about the
not-
good fan service moments though, because I've been too negative for a show that I do like. Sorry, Tyler. Go on.
Oh no, I'm just very excited now.
In season 1, this is the first time we've talked about this. In season 1, the mechanism to move the castle is the save points from Symphony of the Night, where it's like that
Yeah.
weird like dodecahedron that like spins
Yeah.
around. I love that. I love in season 1 where they get to Dracula's castle and they're running on a bunch of gears, and I'm like, that is the most Castlevania thing ever.
That's not
yes.
the castle. That's underneath the town. That's where Alucard's kept.
Whatever,
It's a part
man.
of the
Running on
castle.
gears
Yeah.
is the Castlevania thing. So like, the show is great and the writing is great, but each season it's less and less Castlevania
Castlevania.
and more its own thing.
This most recent season, I really enjoyed because in between every Castlevania game, Dracula's alive again. Unless
Yeah.
he's not the main antagonist for the game, he has been resurrected.
Yeah, and there's always a time. I mean, there's like a time skip in the lore where like the vampire, like the Belmonts of that time, were doing something else, and then Dracula
Yeah.
comes back.
And in this most recent season, we got this. I think it was a very well written piece on how whoever the fuck would revive Dracula.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would they do that? What happens to all the demons Dracula has brought back in his castle? What happened to Alucard? You know, and I really enjoyed that. I think it was done because, like you said, it's good writing and it's not Castlevania's story,
Yeah.
but it's very well done writing about what may happen in between Castlevania games.
Definitely.
And I enjoyed that.
I mean, I feel like Isaac would want to revive him, and I thought at the end of the season that's what the plot would be, because Dracula's the best character on this show for me,
Yeah.
and like his scenes with Alucard in season 2 are so good. So I was missing him, but like the new Vampire Sisters are all great. Isaac was mostly great, except for what I was making fun of earlier, where like Isaac just continuously runs into people who are stubborn and have the right to be, and then he's just like, why do I even try? And then he just gets all angsty. And I was hoping with what the captain was saying, the captain was great. I was hoping with what the captain was saying, it would maybe turn into a thing where Isaac realizes how edgy his goals are and like how immature it is, but we're not quite there. We're somewhere in the middle right now.
Yeah.
Hector,
I-
though. Man.
Hector the simp.
Hector's a hard simp, and here's the thing. Hector is in a way better spot now. Even though
Yeah.
it seems like he got screwed over, he's in an infinitely better spot. But it
Hector
wasn't his
likes where he
plan.
is.
Like, he got duped into it, which makes him seem like just... I mean, that's his character, though. He got pussy whipped by Leona? Lenore. He got pussy whipped by Lenore, he got pussy whipped by Dracula, and that's just kind of who
Yeah.
he is.
But at least when he's getting pussy whipped by Lenore, he actually gets pussy.
Yeah, it's true.
Um,
A lot of sex that episode.
yeah.
Yes!
Sex is bad, guys. Don't do it because you get enslaved to vampires or killed by twins in a bad plot line.
Attempted
That was the best. We need to Willard, just go ahead and say at the end of this, we need to record and put spoiler warning at the beginning of this.
Okay.
Because
I'll post it on the video title.
yeah,
You're right.
but
'Cause now,
holy fucking shit! Whenever he goes, I said my father didn't like to use magic weapons. I never said I didn't. And I was
pretty good.
just like,
the fact he was
"Woo!"
using his like levitating spinny sword,
Yep.
which I recognize from those games, that's the shit I like.
Honestly, I was like, man, I wish I was in one of these sex scenes right now because my dick is hard.
Okay, well, that's recorded for the world to know. Drink your wine, sir. Keep drinking.
It was so great. The
I mean, the Eleanor scene was pretty steamy. Like, you're not gonna get a no out of me, dog.
the writing is great and all the interactions between the characters, and there's this constant build-up all season long, and then you get just 3 episodes, action, action, action. And it's just
action, wink.
This big tease all the way up to this climax, and it's just like,
man, we're using the word action and climax in very interesting ways today. So I don't like the Alucard storyline of this season. One, because the twins were immediately sketchy. Two, because I was like, are they related? From the first time, like, they're sparring and they're just like rolling around and giggling, I'm like, they're having a threesome, so I hope they're not related. Just I hope so. Just for some clarity in this world.
I saw a Reddit post about that, and they're like, oh yeah, apparently thinking they were related is racist.
What? Why?
I don't know. Someone just goes, yeah, I got called racist for thinking they were related.
They had a familiarity of people that I assumed were brother and sister. My bad.
And they talked. They had similar speaking patterns. They both had gray hair. Like,
yeah.
So one character we haven't discussed. It was a character that I really liked, and I kind of like how his whole arc and everything in the show was the judge of the town.
Yeah,
I strongly dislike that.
Really?
That last reveal. So as much as I like this show, I don't love it. Aside from my video game fanboyism, there's an aspect of this show that is just something I don't like in shows, and it's the cynicism and the gloominess of this show. And this season, every single storyline ends on that beat.
Yeah.
And that one specifically, it's like, oh, he was killing all these children, which I wasn't even sure why he was killing them. I think I missed that.
I think the big part of the show too is that like that everyone has this kind of sense of evil in them, like a general public.
Everyone is capable of sinning, but we've seen that. Like, even this guy needs to be an asshole so that Sypha and Trevor can end the season as gloomy assholes as well. Like,
he's the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
Why was he executing those kids? Just because, haha, evil?
He didn't like kids.
Because he didn't like them running around in the town.
Oh, come on.
That's why. Like,
I liked that character a lot until that reveal.
I liked the character even more after that reveal.
Oh, you.
I think it was a control thing where he just wanted everything to be perfect in the town, and
because he laments about the city, how every small thing in a town is an issue compared to a city where like murders and stuff aren't really like kind of.
You know what else is a big thing? Murdering the children.
Right.
You know what? Did
somebody say murdering children?
Bradley's favorite.
Let me spin this web, all right? This is going to be a convoluted web here.
Oh boy.
I can't wait to my favorites.
We're about to get into some One Piece Wayno talk shit.
All our main characters are tied together in some semblance through evil monsters and vampires, all right? And it's always been, all of these characters have always kind of been them versus humanity. Whether it's Hector and Isaac and just like their shitty past.
Trevor
Alucard,
too in some way, because he was the Belmonts start the show as outcasts.
The speakers are outcasts as well, because they go against the way of Christianity. Which is what a majority of Europe is at that time.
Right.
All of them are characters against humanity, and it just paints another evil picture of humanity.
But humans bad needs to be nuanced.
But we get that nuance through Isaac's through Isaac's story.
And Hector and Trevor and Simon and all these
Hector
other
just gets cucked by vampire women.
But like the idea is like the general populace as a whole is terrible when you're thinking as its whole. Like there's even a whole point where there's a big fucking ball of dudes trying to kill Hector.
God, that was
Legion
so cool.
was
though.
great.
Legion was fantastic. When Tyler pointed it out that it was Legion, I was like, oh. It was like fighting those big heartless waves in Kingdom Hearts 3.
That's the whole opening to the show, is that the ignorance of like the people in the community and the populace can bring down these great individuals.
Absolutely. That's so we're all agreeing that the show is cynical, which was my problem, which was what started this conversation. I think the show is potentially overly cynical. Trevor is kind of like already starting at a lower level, like a anti-hero at the beginning, and then becomes more of a hero, and now he's going back to anti-hero. Sypha is just crazy, and I love her. Trevor and Sypha is, oh man, their chemistry is so good.
Sypha's combat.
God, Sypha's combat
Sypha's
in the
fucking
fucking
badass.
season has been so good. Like she was okay in the previous seasons, but this one was so good. Like they really got really creative.
Oh, I think even like Sypha's always been the MVP, but I think Trevor stole the show in combat wise in episode 10
with the dual whips.
Man, when he pulled out those goddamn dual whips.
He just, like, it does like this side pan where he just like whips it out at his side and it's close up and he brings out the old whip and it's like, oh, this guy's about to die.
And then he does the flaming whip. He did magic. It's good. Everyone loves it.
There's 4 great characters though that are really great supporting characters. It's Saint Germain. We already talked about him.
Mm-hmm. I like
we
him.
have the merchant, the captain, and the old magician.
Yeah, I believe her name was Mariana or something.
These 3 characters get some nice world building by just being vague enough, but also accepting of the Forge Master and knowing who the Forge Master is.
I think that's something I should bring up for the strong positives. I think the show has really good world building. And it's also kind of a bummer because it's like, oh, hey, there's heaven and hell, and God is confirmed asshole, and you're all going to hell, and when you're in hell, someone's going to revive you as a demon. So have fun with that existence. So...
Oh, the talking demon!
Right. Fly Eyes. That was a great scene.
Yeah.
I really liked Isaac's story.
Yeah.
Isaac's arc was fantastic.
Yeah, it was... Yeah, it was good. And I did like Hector's story, even if he's a dummy.
Yeah.
I wanted to
That's
believe.
what Hector wants, though. He just wants validation.
That's true. It's true.
So here's my one concern about this series. Is there was a show that had really good world building at one point, and everyone loved it, and everyone hated it by the end of it. That show was Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And I'm really concerned about the show because we're starting to get to the point where we have all these different storylines going on at the same time, and we want to see how they connect together. That I don't know how well they're going to be able to connect.
But Joe, Dracula didn't see the fleet of ships. He just didn't see. He kind of forgot about the fleet of ships.
At least Dracula was a big dummy.
Yeah.
I think their connection's very simple, though, whereas...
They're vampires.
If Dracula gets revived, Hector or the Belmonts are going to hunt them down. They hunt night creatures. They hunt vampires. They hunt demons.
I can see at the end of season 4, the 4 sisters get what they want done, and then Isaac... Is it Isaac? No, it's either Isaac or Hector revives Dracula, and he ends up taking over that entire corridor, and that brings us back around to...
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be Isaac's army versus Hector's army. They're not going to get to take everything down, and through that, some other batshit crazy monk is going to try and revive Dracula again.
Right, because remember, they have all the monks spread out now, because they mentioned that where they kept sending them out every day to go spread the word. Mm-hmm. So there's still batshit crazy monks out there.
Yeah, so they all went off, and I really like that the mushroom night creature showed up, the spore creature that they infused all of the villagers into.
Spore creature?
The end boss?
Yeah, the main boss.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The rainbow boy.
Yeah, like it brainwashed
the Bloodborne
them.
enemy.
Yeah,
it brainwashed them.
Yeah.
And I really like that because that shows, like, who the fuck would revive Dracula? Oh, brainwashed people by night creatures. and people who
I-
hate humanity.
I
would.
love that mystery of like these monks went into this building with a demon one night and they haven't been the same since. They came back crying. I was like, this is a hot mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were doing Bloodborne down there. That's great.
I mean, God, like you don't like that. I know your big negative is that the show is deviated so much to Castlevania. For me, I just like that the show hits that high fantasy mark. It's not crazy. It's not like scared to go fucking wild with what it's doing.
Oh yeah, I'm glad for that.
Like that corridor scene, great. The idea of like this Cthulhu monster living in a basement, brainwashing monks, and has himself crucified to like do some.
It's so cool. And then like he absorbs the flames of the whole town to create a portal to hell. Like it's pretty wild. It's pretty out there, and I like it.
It's pretty out there, and you got these crazy like monster design.
You got gravity bombs. You got fucking infinite arrow chan. It's great.
This is just us geeking out now. Castlevania is great. Go watch it.
I got 2 more points to bring up. There's a controversial hot take I have about Castlevania.
Is it widely controversial or will
It is widely controversial.
Oh, okay.
I think this show is technically, on a technical level, not as good as people say. Particularly the animation.
Because of the frame skipping.
Something about the animation. So when they're going in, like in episode 10, they're going in.
Right.
When they're not going in, it's not that good. And this show is really praised for its animation. It
I
has moments of Sakuga. Do y'all know the term? It's like Sakuga is when the animation gets a big budget influx, and you get those moments in every anime where like it looks amazing. Aside from that, like the reason why it's on a technical level a little weird is because the hits are sometimes so flimsy and the audio design is so off. Like when they have good choreography, and it's like. So Trevor grabs a wolf's neck in the first episode.
Right.
And he breaks it. And that animation didn't seem forceful enough to break the thick neck of a wolf.
Right.
And that's just kind of like present in a lot of the action scenes where like these rubbery hits that have more like have awkward impact. It's kind of weird. And then another technical aspect is the sound mixing is sometimes all over the place. Like the character voice acting is sometimes really low and it's hard to hear them, and I don't watch stuff with subtitles because I am a very big person of watching the cinematography on the screen, and in animation that's a big thing as well. So like when Saint Germain was in front of the portal, he was saying like, why would you open the like I was like, what are you saying?
I remember that.
And then sometimes like the voice actors, sometimes they sound really natural, which I like. They sound like they're having very natural conversations, and then sometimes it feels very stunted because of the accents all over the place.
That's just 2 characters, and everybody knows who it is.
Who? All of them had like weird moments.
Yeah.
The 2 voice actors for the Vampire Hunters. They felt traditional, like they actually casted people who didn't speak English well.
Yeah.
But it I don't know, just it felt very off to me. Their dialogue interactions with Alucard.
I agree. Their dialogue was very off to me. Sypha, I think this season got really better with her performer and how she was, because she was really off to me season 1 with her dialogue.
Yeah. Sypha's gotten way better.
Sypha's gotten so much better. Like she sounds so much natural in like what she's saying. I think they also got really good at like writing her as well, so they're able to bounce off of her accent a little bit more.
Man,
but like
her and Trevor are goals. They're so cute.
Yeah,
I'm very sad that the season ended like that for them.
Really worried that one of them was going to die at the end of the season.
They can't die because they have to make Simon. But wait, they don't care about that. So she is going to die. There is no Simon.
I bet Trevor dies.
He's got to put a seed in her.
I thought Trevor was gonna die this season, though, with that last battle.
God,
because
he was so
he has
cool.
a whole conflict about himself about caring about Sypha. Like it gave some really hard like death flags. to me. 'Cause-
Sometimes the characters are like awkwardly talking to themselves, and I get that happens in a lot of stuff. But it's like when the when Saint Germain wakes up, he has this whole monologue where it's like, "Here's my character motivation." Right
Yeah.
now.
But he knows about toilet paper, though.
That was such a good line. Great season, 4 out of 5. I just had to put my nitpicks because this show is universally loved, and I think it deserves some detraction. But it's fantastic.
Yeah. It's the closest I'll ever get to probably a proper like grimdark Warhammer setting thing, but it's whatever.
Yeah. It is grimdark. It's
grimdark,
very
but that
grimdark.
but it does it. It's such a good way where, like, the best way to write a grimdark story is to have characters that are almost invincible, but you still kind of care about them enough. And that can be really hard to balance to do because everyone dies in grimdark, but you still need a person to latch onto, I think.
I feel like Sypha and Trevor could die any encounter.
I agree. It feels like that, but like I also have enough faith in Trevor and Sypha and their abilities now that they can do a lot. They're not going to just die randomly.
Can we talk about how bad the townsfolk are at fighting the demons? Except for that one town. There's that one town that is like weirdly badass about it, but then every other town is just like standing there and then stabbing slowly as the demons just like shoot all sorts of weird attacks.
This is weird.
Oh, I'm split in two now.
I gotta keep my military formation.
The last thing I wanted to bring up is how has Bradley not watched this show yet? This is such a Bradley show to me.
The only real thing I know about Castlevania is the director for it would really like to animate Berserk.
This show, Bradley, this show feels like Berserk to me. It has such Berserk theming and tone. Not the Puck shit, like the dark shit.
No, Puck's little butt's the best part.
God, Riley, have you watched the first episode of Castlevania? Just the first episode.
But Better Call Saul.
I mean,
I want you to answer my goddamn question.
Wait, what?
The answer is no.
Have you watched the first
No,
episode?
I haven't. Oh, I didn't know you were asking a question.
Yeah, if you watched the first episode, I think you would finish the entire series.
It was actually like I was midway through this season. If y'all remember me asking Bradley, I asked Bradley like a week ago. I was like, "Hey Bradley, do you like what about Berserk do you like?" And he said like these character developments and everything. And I was like, "Oh, this show's really grotesque." I thought that maybe be what he likes, but you know, I don't know.
No,
Castlevania is pretty grotesque.
Because the first episode clearly points out Dracula's motivation and everything about the show, and it does it so well. I love that first episode so much. I think it's
now,
good.
Joe, I can barely get this man to watch Better Call Saul. So
I
you're
know,
right.
I know.
Maybe
But
someday.
I'm just saying that if you feel like you want to like know what it's about, just watch the first episode and it'll probably tell you everything you know about the show.
It's a pretty good put on the background because you can follow along pretty well, and then like you'll get hooked when it starts hitting.
Yeah.
I think you'll like it because one, it has barely anything to do with the games, like I was complaining about.
Yeah, I heard that part.
You'll be fine.
I'm looking at some of the art right now.
It's got some really good action sequences. Even the ones I was complaining about, like they still don't look bad. Like they're just some awkward moments here and there. So it's fairly well animated. Great character models, great dialogue and themes and motivations.
Great character development and just kind of like character conflicts. That's another great thing. Is like this whole series is stemmed off of one person's personal conflict with the world.
Also, big demons and dark religion and literally bloodborne shit. So
like whenever y'all were talking about that Cthulhu thing controlling the monks, that sounded like some bloodborne shit to me.
The pucks. He's controlling the pucks.
Castlevania. They should put more music.
Yeah, Castlevania would be good. Watch the show.
Watch the show. Also, very short watch, which is great.
I'm out of wine.
Well,